Thinking of becoming a secondary school teacher in the UK but not really sure what kind of salary to expect throughout your career? Look no further, because in this video I'm going to break down everything you need to know about teacher pay in 2025 and 2026. Here's what I'll cover: the differences between qualified and unqualified teacher salaries, what you can earn on the main pay scale ranging from M1 to M6, how you progress to the upper pay range, so UPR1 to UPR3, and how your location affects your pay, especially in and around London. The extra money you can earn for taking on responsibilities like head of departments or SEN roles, and finally, my honest opinion on whether teaching pay is actually really enough in 2025. Now, my name is Mr. VTech, and I'm coming back with a completely new video about teachers' pay in 2025 and 2026. Now, let's start off with basics. Not all teachers are paid the same because not all teachers are qualified in the same way. If you are a qualified teacher, meaning you have completed your PGCE or another route that can give you QTS, you are paid on the main teacher pay scale. In 2025 or 2026, the starting salary for a qualified secondary school teacher in England, excluding London, is around about 30,000 to about 31,000. As you move up on the pay scale to M6, that can rise up to about 41,000 to about 43,685. Now, if you are unqualified, meaning you haven't yet gained your QTS, your pay will be lower. Unqualified teachers typically earns around 21,500 to about 23,000 and can earn up to anywhere about 33,000 depending on where they're teaching. Your location also makes a big difference in how much you get paid. There are different pay scales depending on where you live or where you work in inner London, the outer London, the fringe area, or even the rest of England. Pay attention to the graph. So for an example, a teacher in inner London could start at nearly about £37,000 and reach over £56,000 at the top of the upper pay scale. If you're working in a place like Nottingham, which falls under the national pay scale, you'll start closer to about £30,000 and top up around £46,500. But keep in mind, the cost of living in many parts of the country is much lower than in London. So even though your salary might be less, your money can stretch a lot further. In many cases, it balances out. Most teachers start on the main pay scale, which runs from M1 to M6. Each year, if your performance meets the expectation, you move up a step. Usually takes about 6 years. So once you reach the top of the main pay scale, you can apply to move up onto the upper pay range, which is known as a UPR1 to UPR3. This is not really automatic, so you'll need to show that you have sustained an impact on the school, demonstrated leadership, and consistently delivered a strong teaching over time. The upper pay range is designed to reward experienced teachers who contribute beyond the classroom. So that is mentoring others, supporting school improvement, or even leading initiatives. So depending on your location, the upper pay range pays anywhere from about 44,000 to over 56,000 at the top. It's really a recognition for long-term contribution, and it's really important step for those who want to stay in the classroom but still progress financially. If you take on extra responsibilities in schools, you can earn more through something called a TLR. That stands for Teaching and Learning Responsibility Payment. These payments are added on top of your salary, and the amount you get depends on where you teach and the scope of the role that you're taking on. There are three main types of TLR. TLR1 for whole school leadership. So an example of TLR1 would be something like a leading teaching and learning across the school, or even managing multiple departments. The pay for this ranges about £9,300 to about £17,500. TLR2 is for department or year group leadership. So for an example, if you're being a head of English or head of year, or even a key stage 4 lead, the pay could earn you about £3,200 to about £7,800 on top of your normal salary. TLR3 is for temporary or project-based roles. So an example of this would be leading a year-long initiative like improving attendance or mentoring early career teachers. So the pay range here is about £600 to about £3,000, again, depending on where you work, the location of your job, as well as the scope of your responsibility. So the catch is you can only receive one TLR at one time, and it must only be clearly written into your job description or even your contract. So if you're really stepping up into a leadership role or project-based role, TLRs are a great way to boost your pay. So let's look at how this all adds up in real life. So for an example, a teacher on M6 working in Manchester with a TLR2 for being a head of science could earn around £49,500 a year, or even slightly north of that. Another example is an experienced teacher on upper pay range 3 in inner London with a TLR1 for being a lead in CPD across this whole school might earn up to about £69,000 a year. So while London has a higher salaries, outside London, you can still earn a very solid income, especially when you factor in a lower housing cost, transport, and living expenses. So guys, before we wrap up, here are a few more things that might help you decide whether teaching is really the right career path for you and how to get the most out of it. A TLR can add a really healthy boost to your salary, but it does come with extra responsibilities. So things like managing a team, leading a department, or overseeing a key stage outcomes. So at first, it can definitely feel like there's a lot on top of regular teaching, but actually with good time management and once you establish a good routine, many teachers learn how to kind of balance both at the same time. Planning ahead, using department support, and even sticking to your boundaries can also help you avoid burnout while still growing in your role. Another question is, what about private schools? So teachers in independent, which is a private schools, don't follow the national pay scales, which means pay can vary depending on which school you work in. Some private schools pay less than state sector, especially smaller or less well-known ones, but many well-funded independent schools pay equal to or even more than public schools, and some offer salaries well beyond upper pay range 3, especially for experienced staff or those in leadership roles. You may also find that private schools have smaller class sizes, they have less bureaucracy and slightly more flexibility in the curriculum, but they often expect much more involvement in extracurricular, Saturday events, or even boarding responsibilities if that is applicable in any way. So the trade-off really depends on your lifestyle and your career goals. So now the big massive question, is the pay enough? Well, on a positive side, starting salaries have definitely improved over the recent years. So for an example, in 2024 or 2025, teachers received a salary increase ranging from 3% to 5%. The pay structure is also clear and consistent. You can definitely increase your income with TLRs, SEN allowances, or even by progressing through the upper pay range scale. But there are some challenges. So for an example, outside London, salaries are often lower, but it's really also important to remember that the cost of living is also lower, which also balances things out. So things like rent, transport, and general living expenses are significantly more affordable in many regions. Even so, pay hasn't always kept up with inflation, and in some areas it can still feel quite tight. The workload is demanding, trust me. Late nights, marking, and consistent planning can take a toll on anybody. And not every school is able to offer extra responsibility payments due to budget pressures. But here's the good news. As your career develops, if you become confident within the time management and you find a pace that really works for you, you can definitely reduce or even eliminate the amount of workload you take home. It does not happen overnight, but many teachers do reach a point where their workload becomes more manageable and teaching feels sustainable and rewarding again. Here's the full breakdown of the secondary teacher pay in the UK for 2025 and 2026. If you're already in the profession, do you think the pay is fair? And if you're thinking of becoming a teacher, does the salary match your expectations? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I would love to hear your thoughts and experiences. If you found this video helpful, make sure to give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and tap that notification bell so you don't really miss any future videos. My name is Mr. VTech, and see you in the next one.